convincing yourself you're a pirate, you're a horrible pirate, don't take this away, etc. Until somebody called Napster and somebody called Spotify ends the business. The whole business is gone. Finito. There are no kids nowadays, none of our 5, who understand the concept of paying for music. I cannot explain to my 16-year-old why he should pay for music. He says, Dad, come on. And no, because it's, why should I pay for music? No, because they have to live and Madonna, Rihanna, Lady Gaga needs to buy a new car. Yeah. So the fact is that they understand and they believe that people's need to express themselves in music is going to continue forever, and they're probably right. Now, today, is it natural for you to imagine a music that comes out now, this 2 days ago even from Taylor Swift, 2 days later, 2 minutes later, you have it and it's available, it didn't cost you anything. Now, the guys who are holding tight with the lawyers are the guys, for example, in the movie industry. The movie industry, it should be, the new Tom Hanks film came out at 2. I watched it at 2:15. No, this is going to go to movies all around the world 6 months from now. It's going to spend a year in the movies, then it's going to go to DVD, and then if you don't buy it, how long do you think it's going to be before you watch a movie 2 to 3 minutes after it's released? And it will be obvious to you. Nowadays, it's anybody who uses Oyster, and it's the concept of Netflix. Oyster, you pay, I think, $9.99 for 12 million books, which you can read and give back as if it were a library. Now, we think this is not going to happen to the other industries that we're working with in consulting, etc. It's going to happen to everybody. And are we ready? Is consulting something that you can continue seeing as, let me help you understand who you are, where you are, let me do a diagnostic, let me put together a plan, let me push you billable hours with a project where I'll give you recommendations, where you'll follow some of them and you won't, and then you call me again and I have more billable hours. That business is finishing. Now, is it going to finish next year? No. But it doesn't fit with this world. There's a new world out there which I think has to be adapted to from the standpoint of everybody. And it's a new world in which the status quo and the size and the speed and what you had before is of very little value. That a lot of this can be emulated very quickly. Are the new cars and so forth going to come from the car people? Of course not. You go back to 1962, and Mercedes had an electrical car that did 80 kilometers per day. In the 70s, it was the Japanese Honda had a project which was very feasible also for 90, 100 kilometers a day of an electrical car. You then had the French in the 90s and so forth. Why does it take 40 years for a car company to figure out, after it figured out the technology, for it to put out an electric car? Why does it need someone called Elon Musk that they'd never heard of before? Because an organization, once it's in place and you're helping them, it consolidates itself in that one thing it knows how to do. And it becomes every time more consolidated and crystallized in what to do. Because it has size, or it has a name or a trademark or something, it will survive for a while. How many people here 15 years ago, 20 years ago, would have agreed that Xerox, Gillette, Kodak would be worth nothing? Nobody. Because they had it all. Who here can accept the idea that your digital camera or your instant photography is not by Polaroid? How is it possible that it's not by Polaroid, by companies making instant photography for 100 years? But they don't exist anymore. And they went under about a year or two before digital photography caught on. So what we know as organizations, sometimes the company is able to survive, and the company is there and has strength, but for the wrong reasons. Because it has such an investment in trademark, because it's been there, because it has dealership, because it has something in front of you. But the fact is, this can go away quickly. The other day, I was seeing the end of a movie with the kids, which was a DreamWorks production. And I watched the credit on that thing, and if you stop at the end of the movie and watch the credit, you're going to spend about 10, 12 minutes there. It runs, the credit runs and runs and runs. And you say, and I went back and I started counting. In the HR department for that film, there were 36 people. 36 people. And then I watched another film by Hal Hartley, is a guy who does good independent movies, and he had a total of 37 people, including all of the actors. How do you have 36 people here in the HR department for that one film? When you look at it, you understand everything that you see. It's like this. First assistant director, second assistant director, assistant to the third assistant director, fourth assistant director. Isn't that what it looks like, the credit? Now what's happening that it takes 1,620, in this case, people to make that one movie? So the assumption is, of course, that if I can do this, as the paperback was like this for many years, right? The cover, the hardcover, etc. You wanted to buy a book early, and the publisher says, sure, $40. And I'll give it to you in hardcover, which cost me another 30 cents. But it's $40 for a year. After that year, I'll give it the same book for $5.99. So now Oyster makes the book available immediately at $9.99 per month for all the books you can read. This is slowly going elsewhere, right? You look at car hire, you look at hotels. Why can't you just hire cars for 2-hour periods, 4-hour periods? Why can't you have hotel rooms for 3-4 hours at a time? Why can't you pay consulting per minute? Why can't you open a Skype window with your consultant, talk to him for 8 minutes and pay for 8 minutes? Why can't the consultant charge for software that's inside his head instead of billable hours? Anybody who works with the large legal firms knows this. You have a guy who is particularly smart and good at talking to you, et cetera, who charges you 800 euros an hour. And he talks to you and then you go away. And then he's going to find a way, he has to find a way, to then bill you another 300 hours of somebody who just came out of school, has no idea which way is left and right. And they'll do this cheaply at only 150 times 800. We got into the business once of legal fees and legal consulting. And we looked at the business and we said, there's something wrong here with this idea of, and anyone who's worked for a legal company knows that about 75 to 80% of their profit is in the very junior level billing, right? And in consulting, there's a bit of that disformity as well, but it's especially high in the legal business. And so all of their money is made on the kids who pretend that they're busy. Now, the guy is paying in the end 82,000 euros or 40,000 because the advice of the 2 hours he spent with the right guy were worth it. And then there's all kinds of paper. But all kinds of paper, how much do you think of that is duplicated? Or do you think every time I look at a company, I need to start a new one and to do this, I start everything from scratch? So we said, let's start a business that does that. So we did. And what we said we were going to do is this. One, we looked at the time, the deadline that it takes for you to answer in litigation, for you to answer a judge. A judge gives you, in Brazil, probably similar here, gives you 15 days to answer. Out of those 15 days, we lose an equivalent of 9 days between nights and weekends. And so we're always in an enormous rush to do this at the last minute. So we said, let's go get some lawyers on the other side of the world who are going to work at night. Let's get rid of the people we have here, and let's set up a call system on a digital basis where people come in and they bid for a piece of legal work from us. And we'll rate them in any kind of form of how good they are and the payment that they should get. And then we start asking some interesting questions of why. And we said, why do they have to be lawyers again? And the lawyers were, of course, immediately shocked. And we said, how many people per year do law school but do not pass the bar exam? And we found that only in Brazil, 69,000 people. I said, those are our employees. They know everything about the law, but they didn't pass the law exam. The bar exam to us is of no concern whatsoever. We said, let's get a software with an algorithm that says, if your document says, embargo, third party, wrong address, judge this, that, I already know what it is I need as a final document to answer to that. So we went into this system. We had, after a year, we were the largest legal firm in Brazil with 920 lawyers plus all the non-lawyers. We were operating in the 26 states, 260,000 different lawsuits at the same time. And our average answer time to a judge was 12 minutes. And that's what it takes. It takes 12 minutes for a judge to give you something, put it into the system, check which kind of document you need, send it out to someone digitally who looks at it, signs it, gives it back, and you give it to the judge. And these guys were doing it for us in their cars. They had a little scanner, electrical thing, they would stand there. And they'd come back on average 12 minutes later to the judge and say, here's your answer. And a lot of judges were duly irritated. But, but the fact is that when you start rethinking all of this, you say, how the hell do we have call centers? We're bringing people in across public transport to sit in a cubicle next to other people. We can't route these calls to their house. We can't have a system where the person bids for time. She's a mother of 3. She only wants to work 2 hours a day. Great. When she's ready to work for 2 hours, she gets the routing of the call, does it, and goes back to doing whatever she was doing. So we are still in a very old world. We're at the end of a stage of a very old world, and the organizations reflect that. They are still there, and they're still in perfect place. But every time you look at them and you see the corporations that have been consolidated in the way they do things, you are looking at a mirage. That's not going to be there anymore 10 years from now, 15 years from now, et cetera. How do you adapt? And when you think, now we've been discussing with DEBAC, and we've finally come to an arrangement to work together, because they came to us some time ago and said, look, this, what you've been trying to do yourself over these years, it's not put in a format that can be copied, or it's not formatted. You never made an effort, we never did, to make it easy for anybody to use this. But there could be something here that could be developed into a methodology, which DEBAC is now doing, trying to do something which is not full of little rules and 10 this and 7 that and how to, and really just trying to capture maybe the spirit of a more modern time, of a more modern corporation, which is based on people wanting to work at that time, wanting to work in that fashion, wanting to work with these or those people. And this is entirely new. When you exchange necessity and rules and implications that are for a situation in which people are doing it because they want to, you end up with a completely different workforce, you end up with a completely different rationale. My wife Fernanda has a hotel where she decided to test some of this rationale. It's very interesting and very easy for you to understand. Even if you don't understand the hotel business, you're a hotel user, and therefore you understand. And it started with a list of everything she hates about hotels. And she said, let's fix everything I hate. 1, I don't like to check in. I don't like to check out. I don't like to be told they need my room. I don't like to come back and see my room dirty. I don't like being hit with little charges for minibar and interphone and internet, et cetera, where I know they're making their money and they're making. So anyway, so she designed and put together a hotel. The hotel consultants who came, they said, okay, this is how it has to be. You have a concierge here, you have a reception here, you have these guys here, this is housekeeping that takes care of the rooms, these are the wait people who are working in the restaurant. Got it? Got it. How many does it take? 118 people. Then called it another one who said 121 would be better. And then they said, no, let's cut this, let's cut that. We're going to be courageous. We're going to open the hotel with 78 staff. And then she started working this, let's say, the Semco style way. And today she has 39 employees. 39 employees, there is no concierge, there is no general manager, there is no housekeeping, There's nothing that you know. Now, how does this hotel work? It works entirely based on the guest, which is a very new person in a hotel, in that business. Nobody knew that such a person existed. So this guy is the guest. So there's a cluster of 7 people, and these 7 people have a cluster leader. Everybody waits tables, everybody cleans rooms, everybody knows all of the concierge issues, everybody makes reservations. Okay? So when you, this is one thing, and I told her, I said, there's one thing I hate about hotels too. I hate luggage, and I hate making my luggage and unmaking. Okay, no problem. So the hotel picks up your luggage, in this case in Sao Paulo, which is about 2.5 hours away, picks your luggage up on Thursday. When you arrive on Friday, it's all been pressed and it's inside the rooms. You come anytime you want, you go anytime you want. There are no restrictions. You don't see a bill if you don't want to. Doesn't charge for minibar, internet, anything of the sort. You don't use money while you're there. You can't even tip, because we want to make sure that you are being well served because the person wants to, and not because the person is after a tip. So anyway, the people come to the hotel. These 7 people then do everything for you. Now, if you come and stay one time in the hotel building, these 7 people are with you. If you stay the next time at one of the bungalows out there, the 7 go with you, because that group of 7 belongs to the guest and not to that geographical area of the hotel. And so the hope is that people will repeat, because they're dealing always with the same people, and they'll come more, and you'll have a higher occupancy, you have a less marketing cost, you have a less of a churn, on and on and on. And this could be a subject for a 2-hour conversation, but just the short of it is that with 39 people who do everything, and that includes cleaning, but also includes landscaping, security, everything is done by only these people. You have a hotel which broke down all of these concerns. There's no more luggage, there's no check-in, there's no check-out, there's no question of the bill, there's no question of mini bar and so forth. And it was relatively easy to do. Relatively easy to do. And if you go into a TripAdvisor, you'll see that it has no problems whatsoever. It has an enormous rating there. It charges an expensive room. So the point is that this is going to happen. This is starting to happen in all of the areas. And we have to, I think, be ready. We have to watch out. We have to tune ourselves to the idea that the traditional organization is at its end. What I wanted to suggest is, so that you don't leave with a feeling of, yeah, but this sounds too strange or too far away, or the companies I work with are too this or too that. We've had our experience over the years, not only of size, but also we have a private equity arm which runs very large corporations. We've become minority there because our boys were a lot smarter than we were, but they started their own businesses, and the largest of it has 104,000 employees. Some of them have 50,000, 20,000. So we now have an experience with all kinds of sizes and all kinds of industries, which we didn't have before. And what we're trying to do with DEBAC is to, and they are the only ones who really can do this, is to develop the training and leadership methodology which somebody could use in a new format. But even this format has to be new. It has to be digital. It can't be based on trying to push billability to a customer. It has to be based on a little bit of time. It has to be based on apps. And all of this we don't really know. How do you take something like consultancy in a Netflix format? How do you take that and offer something that costs $9 per employee per month to use, but has all of the consultancy inside? Has a Uber-type system where you call the closest consultant by the tag word who understands that, who shows up on your window, talks to you for a couple of minutes, you get the bill for that, the window closes. There's a world out there which is very close to us and very easy to find out.